Hey sweet loves, welcome back to my channel. This video is very well timed. As you can see, my hair is not done, I'm wearing no makeup, and I'm in a sweatshirt. I was almost not going to record a video this week. Yes, like I said, this video is really well timed. What we're talking about today is understanding human emotions. And last week I did a video on understanding the emotional authority in human design, which you can check out by clicking that little link that popped up right there. But that is different than having emotions. And like I said, I almost didn't record a video this week because I am dealing with my emotions as a human being. But I felt this call and this sacral tug, which is my authority, to check out my YouTube analytics today, and I saw that I came up in search again for understanding human emotions. And so my sacral decided, yes, I want to respond to this as a generator and make a video about it. So I literally did like a brief outline and just hit record. Didn't bother with makeup, didn't bother doing my hair, because really the information is more important than what I fucking look like. So I felt like I wanted to continue riding that lit up response before I started to let my head or my emotions talk me out of it. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Just because some of us are designed to not make decisions through our emotions doesn't mean we don't feel emotions. That's not how it works. But how each and every single person feels and handles their emotions is going to be really different depending on their human design chart. Obviously, I'm going to be talking predominantly about my human design chart today because that's what I have access to. So if that sounds interesting to you, keep watching, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit that little subscribe button so that you don't miss a video on how to translate the human design language into everyday life. Now, first things first, I really want to talk about the importance of translating the human design language, because I don't want you to hear my interpretation or my definition of a center in the human design chart and think that you have to like fit yourself into this box of my definition or any definition you see out there. We are human. We all have our own internal biases. We have our own interpretations, and that's why I think it's so important to actually translate this knowledge into how it actually shows up in your life, and why I always say almost every single video the importance of actually experimenting with this information, because it's going to show up and it's going to feel and it's going to look different for each and every single person. Human design literally shows us how individually unique we are. And like I said, the way that one person interprets something and translates it could be a little bit different than how it actually shows up and translates in your life. So I don't want you to put yourself into a box, and I don't want to put you into a box on what this definition has to mean or how it shows up in your life. This is just to give you information, to give you knowledge, to give you, maybe a starting point so that you can then start to see how this actually translates and experiments in your life. So like I said, I almost didn't record a video this week because I am personally dealing with a family member that is very unaware of their energy. That's all I'm going to say about it, but it's really affecting my energy a lot. And so I kind of shut down this week because it's just sometimes too much, and it's so much. But that's why I said I think this video is really timely, because I think the universe needed me to walk through my emotions and where I'm absorbing energy that's not mine and how to handle absorbing energy that's not mine. And in doing so, being of service to you and recording this video so that you have this tool in your tool belt, or this knowledge in your mind. So first things first, what we need to have a foundational understanding of is the energy centers. Hopefully by now you've seen a human design chart, but if you haven't, this is what it looks like. And I know it can seem a little bit overwhelming and a little bit daunting if it's something that you've never looked at before, but we're gonna break it down. That's literally what this channel is all about, is breaking down the foundation, translating it, and then giving you permission to experiment with that knowledge. So this is my chart here. And a defined center versus an undefined or an open center is whether or not it is colored in. So you can see that the ones that are beige here, those are my defined centers. And a defined center is where you have a little bit of a consistency and sometimes even a rigidity in that energy. So this top one, this top triangle right here, that's my Ajna Center. Your Ajna Center is your way of thinking. So for me, I have a consistency in the way that I think. So this has a lot to do with, mindset and limiting beliefs. And so the way that I think, it's almost kind of set in stone. It's not. Nothing is really set in stone, and everything, like I said, interpretations, right? Things can change and hopefully do change, but it's a little bit harder for me to change my way of thinking because I have a defined energy in that energy center. So that's one example. So all of these centers that are colored in, or that little beige color, that's a defined center. Again, means that I have a bit of a consistency and a rigidity in that center. The ones that are not colored in are either defined or open. Now the difference, sometimes people use those interchangeably, and sometimes I even catch myself using them interchangeably, but I only have one real open center, and that's my heart center right here. You can see that there are no gates activated. None of those numbers inside of the center, none of them are blacked out, none of them are activated. Like there's literally nothing happening around my heart center. That means that my heart center is open. So I'm a truly open-hearted individual. But if you look at my head center at the very top here, I have 2 gates activated, which means that that center is undefined. So there's a slight difference between open and undefined in an energy center. However, I like to call open and undefined energy centers absorbing centers. This is where we absorb energy that's not actually ours. And this is where it's really helpful to help us understand our human emotions and also help us understand other people's human emotions if we have access to their chart. My relationship with my partner has become so much more beautiful in the past couple of years, ever since I started experimenting and learning with human design and learning how to appreciate his chart in comparison to my chart and where we're different and where we're maybe the same. But even if we have similarities in our charts, like I said, those can still show up differently, based on other things in our chart and how they interact with other things in our chart, and B, again, it's how that actually translates into our life. So now I want to go quickly through what each of the centers are to give you an understanding of, and maybe help you start thinking about how this energy center actually shows up in your life. So starting at the top, like I mentioned, the head center. This is all about inspiration, ideas. And for me, I have an undefined head center. So I absorb a lot of inspiration and a lot of ideas from other people. It's also a pressure center. I talked a little bit about this in my video that I will tag here. I believe it's a lesson in trusting in the universe. I was taking action based on my head center. None of us are designed to take action based on our head centers. This is all about the Sacral Authority. And again, I also have a video which you can check out here about how to know you're making the right decisions using your authority. And my head center is undefined. So I absorb energy that's not actually mine into my head center. So I need to make sure that I always tap into my authority to actually decide whether or not I want to take action on an idea that I've absorbed, or if I'm actually feeling pressure to do something that's not actually aligned with my energy. The second center here, like I also mentioned, is the Ajna Center. It's our way of thinking. Then we have our throat center. This is how we communicate. Then we have the G center. This is all about self-identity, self-direction, self-love. Then we have the heart center, like I mentioned. This is all about, it's also called the ego center. So this is all about worthiness, comparisonitis, value. Then we have our sacral center. This is all about creativity, stamina, life force. Then we also have on this side, we have the spleen, which is, the survival, the instincts. So the fight or flight, that survival mode kind of energy. And then we have the solar plexus, the emotional solar plexus on the other side here, which, like I mentioned at the very beginning, there's an emotional authority, which is based on that energy center, but we all experience emotions. So now that we have a brief understanding, I know I'm sharing a lot of information in this, but I mean, understanding human emotions, am I really going to get through that in a 15-minute video and like cure the world? No. It's a lot of information to share, it's a lot of information to interpret, and it's a lot of information to start to absorb and then take action on. But I'm doing my best. So we talked about defined and undefined, and then I ran through what each of the energy centers are. Now is a little bit of homework for you. Is I want you to go find your human design chart, and if you don't know how, I have a free resource at the description below. It's called the Awareness Manual. It'll literally walk you through step by step on how to find your human design chart, and it'll give you a lot of information to get started, and then you'll be able to see what your centers are. So a little bit of homework for you now is I want you to go through and I want you to see which are your absorbing centers and how can you better understand how you are absorbing energy that's not actually yours, and maybe taking action or reacting from an emotional place that's not actually yours. Now I'll give you an example. As you can see in my chart here, I have an undefined emotional solar plexus, and I also have an undefined spleen center. I have an open heart, and I have an undefined head center. So how this shows up in my life is I'm an empath. I absorb people's emotions. So I used to have really bad road rage, for example, because when I was on the road, I was absorbing everybody's frustrations and emotions around me, and I would react from that place. The spleen center, I remember a couple of weeks ago, and I even did an IGTV on this, about how I almost shut my business down after spending a weekend with my partner's family because they don't understand online business. So I absorbed that fear into my spleen center, and when I came home, I was like, I need to get a regular job, like my business is going to go nowhere, and like I started to really spiral with that defined Ajna, right? That defined way of spiraling and thinking and over and over and over and over again. But then reflecting on that, I was like, oh, this actually isn't mine. I absorbed this fear. This fear actually isn't mine. The road rage, I absorbed that road rage. It's not actually mine. My open heart center, like I deal with comparisonitis so bad. I go through this roller coaster of where I'm so worthy and everything coming my way is well deserved. And then, the next minute, if I'm on social media for too much, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have nothing new to say. I have no gifts, I have no talents, I have no wisdom, I have no this, I have no that. Why would anybody want to listen to me? Like, I go through this roller coaster because I absorb that through social media. So I constantly need to take social media breaks. So like I said, with my family member has a defined emotional solar plexus. So I'm pulling in all of that consistency from their emotions, whether it's positive or not, I'm pulling all of that in, and it really affects my energy. So I feel like this was like a really condensed and simplified version of understanding the human emotions, because we are all so complex, which is what I think makes us so interesting and so fascinating, and why I'm on this mission to show that one size doesn't fit all, and that what makes us unique and what makes us fascinating and what makes us interesting is what makes us different, and we need to honor that. So to wrap up, like I said, a little piece of homework for you is to find what your chart says about you. And if you're interested, I do human design readings. You can join the waitlist at the description below. I call them authentic soul maps. If you need some help in, having a condensed understanding and an intimate understanding of your design, I can definitely do that for you. To get you started, figure out where are your absorbing centers and where are you absorbing energy that's not actually yours, and start to reflect on that and ask yourself, is this even mine? Okay, sweet loves. That's all I have for you today. I hope this was helpful and not overwhelming. If you need to go back and watch this and absorb it in snippets, do that. This is so much information. Human design is so intricate and it's so involved and it's so intimate. And it is a lot to absorb, especially if you're like me and you have an undefined head center and you're just absorbing all of these ideas and inspiration. But I hope that this was helpful. If it was, please give this video a thumbs up and comment down below what your absorbing centers are. I would love to help you on this journey and see what you gained from watching this video and how this video has helped you understand your own human emotions. And like I mentioned at the beginning, if you haven't already, please make sure that you hit that little subscribe button, join our community here so that you don't miss a video on how to translate this wide and vast information into seeing how it actually shows up in your life. I love you so much, and I will see you next week. Hopefully by now you've seen a human design chart. Oh, pardon me. The